this is Jennifer here from Belladonna's Botanicals, but you knew that already. So tonight I want to talk a little bit about some topics on working with Reiki and some recent experiences I had. Because I mentioned a lot, obviously I'm a Reiki master, blah blah blah, and that's part of my practice. But I don't really talk a whole lot about sort of the big picture experience of Reiki. I probably will do more on that at some point because there is some stuff I am working through. Trying to figure which came first, the chicken or the egg, in the process of what I'm about to explain. So, anyways, I've been kind of going through just kind of one thing I realize I forget to do a lot of times is write down the shit I'm experiencing, or stuff that's come up in meditation and journeying and sessions and stuff like that. And I was doing a Sunday friend of mine who's very ill, and I have a Reiki guide that I work with. When you are going through the training and the attunements and all of that, one of the exercises in that is meeting your Reiki guide. This is kind of like a spirit guide. So I actually have two different well, I actually have more than I most of us don't have just one spirit guide or one guide, but a lot of times we have teams. Apparently need a team. So my main Reiki guide, who I met through the journey in the training, her name is Shintori, and she sort of lives within the Fujiwara Mountains in Japan. She doesn't really, I don't think she talks to the way she communicates is very different than any other spirit, because it's not. I'm trying to think how to really explain how this particular entity communicates. It's almost telepathically, not in I'm receiving a channeled message from a spirit, like go do this thing, or here's some dank wisdom I'm going to drop on you. It's not like that. It's not a sudden deep knowing. It's like an instantaneous transmission of, like, telepathic communication. Like, I don't know how to describe it beyond that. Apologies. But she's in, kind of my main spirit guide arsenal. I do have another one from when I haven't finished it. I did level 1 shamanic Reiki, which I actually really like. I love the techniques in that. But I have a different guide that's associated with that. But this particular one, so when I was working on the healing last week, um, Shintori showed up. Sometimes, a lot of times when I do Reiki healing for people, I see their spirit guides, I see, spirits that they work with, or that there's something going on. Like, I noticed for a couple friends, I'm like, okay, like I definitely felt or saw Santa Muerte came up a lot for me in the past with some of the people I worked with and stuff. Or as I was describing, like, I saw this thing or this entity of this and this, like, oh, that's one of my spirit guides. So sometimes those are things that will come up when you're doing those kind of healing. So when I was doing this for the person, it was Shintori, and there were two new ones. Mesu, had to figure out how to spell it, but it's Chawan. I think I ended up figuring out, at first I was like, like I spelled it almost like CHUAN, but I think it's two separate words, like C like CHAUHUAN. I don't know. Chawan was another one that showed up for them. And then this past time, there was a third one, Keiko, I think. So this like I've talked about this in other meetings. Like I have or at least attempt to have a morning and evening. So meditation, Reiki, communing with spirit, however you want to put it, astral travel, anything of that nature. So I do that a lot in morning and night. So this was one of my, I think, evening ones I was doing. And in this was just a couple days ago. This was Disney that she took me on, and with the other three, Mesu, Keiko, and Chaon. And we journeyed to the heart of the Fujiwara Mountains, within the mountain. And I was shown this heart center within. I wish you could see what I saw, because it was so just breathtakingly sublime in beauty. It was just this like heart center. So imagine within the heart of the mountain, and there are these sort of like, if you want to call them arteries or veins and stuff like that, that go from there. And what was kind of communicated to me, or what I understood about this, was that this is the heart center of what we call Reiki energy. It doesn't have to be specific to Reiki. We call that type of energy is called many different things. We can sometimes call it source energy, universal life energy, chi energy. If you're doing like Qigong, Reiki, it's that energy. And there's probably, I mean, you could probably pull in 100 different names for that type of energy. Prana, anything that is sort of that universal energy. It's not, I don't know how to describe it. Most people who work with it don't know how to describe it either. So I feel okay there. I know people who are Reiki masters who have been teaching it for years, and they're like, we don't know how it works. It just works. I'm like, yeah, fair enough. I've been there. Um, but what it was showing me with this is kind of how, like, thinking of the universal life force energy, is that it flows through all things. Everyone can tap into this energy. When you have Reiki certifications or crystal healing certifications or any kind of energy work stuff, it's just like you've learned how to work with that energy, employing different methodologies, and different ways of healing. A lot of it for me, like why I wanted to learn it, was because I was pulling too much of my own energy, and I wasn't shielded and blocked enough from get sucking in like the icky empath energy that you get, where you're like, oh, you're in a bad mood. Oh God, I feel it too now. Thanks. So what this was shown to me, I don't know. The spirit world's been showing me some really wild stuff lately. I haven't even written down like the smidge of it at this point, but there's all these different energy points and vortices. I'm trying to remember all the different places. Now, the important thing here was it was, or out of she, or it was somehow communicated that all of these sort of these heart centers in these different locations form a Fibonacci sequence, which is a sacred symbol. So where you kind of have, like, think of like a nautilus shell. So you kind of have that kind of spiraling in, going around, and then coming out at that tip. So that tip there, where it all comes out, and this plays into some other stuff, is I'm having to relearn some things here, is it has that point at the tip of the Fibonacci sequence, where it emerges from beneath and interior structures within the earth into the top, is in the point of whichever of the pyramids in Egypt is the tallest. I don't know. That's why I need to relearn some stuff. Taking a slight sidebar there. One of the things I've come to realize as I chronologically went through all of my old journals is I used to work within the back in the 90s. That information's just been gone to me. I have a lot of PTSD related memory loss, and a lot of it took a big chunk of the 90s with it. So I've been trying to get things back, and one of the things that has been coming back to me is that connection to those Egyptian deities that I used to apparently work with and was connected with. Like, I have documentation of this going back before. So this is like 30 years ago. Um, so anyways, that was just the little side. That's something that's kind of I'm having to kind of work through, because a lot of those deities are really coming through hard. They have been for the past 2 years. Like, I'm really getting a lot with like Anubis and Osiris. Trying to remember who else at this point. Those two specific, particularly or specifically, have come through recently. But um yeah, so going back to this, so now we have this Fibonacci sequence that concludes at the pyramids of Giza, whichever the tallest one is. So I'm just looking at what notes that I jotted down. Um, so there are other energy portal, like the heart networks, energy networks within different structures on the planet. Like, there's one that is in the depths of the Marianas Trench. There's one that's in probably the Himalayas in Tibet. Did I write anyone else down? So Fujiwara, Tibet, Marianas Trench. There was a whole bunch of them. I have to go back in and remember. Um, Oh, right before. Okay. So I wrote this I wrote this as a side note after. I should read my notes first before I start doing the video so I can kind of outline them better. But before I entered that mountain, the heart of a Reiki energy, it was just called the heart of the mountain, in Fujiwara. It was first sort of overlay. And at this point, there was a configuration of Ganesha, Buddha, the Kuan Yin, and Amaterasu, none of which are spirits I work with. So this is what happens sometimes is you I'm not intending to work with any of these deities or spirits. I don't really know much about them. I know Ganesha is good for road obstacles. Um, Buddha, I know who the Buddha is and stuff. Kuan Yin, I don't know a whole lot about, and Amaterasu, I'd have to Google that. I want to say, I don't know, is it Shintoism? But what's interesting is where you put those sort of that loop of those deities is you have it over sort of like thinking of you've got it in through Japan, China, Tibet, India. So you've kind of got the very specific to kind of that region. So all that said, so I'm just looking at the rest of my notes. It's a little dark in here. So there's all these different areas that connect, and they sequence within the Fibonacci sequence. And this is the energy we access when we do healing, or when we do Reiki, or when we do any kind of energy work. I mean, even magical energy to some extent. Like, it's I find stuff like this fascinating because honestly, this is, of course, it's unverified personal gnosis. The spirits show us a lot of different things. I don't really have any way to prove or disprove this. I'm not going to go. I think it might be cost prohibitive, and some international incidents. If I just go start trying to drill a hole straight through the center of the Fujiwara Mountains in Japan, um, to prove that this is actually there. I think it was more like, I would say there, but not there, like a pocket dimension. Like, this isn't something that physically exists, obviously, within, the Marianas Trench or the Fujiwara Mountains or wherever. But so it's kind of like think of it like a pocket dimension sort of thing, where it's kind of like you don't see it until it opens. So I think it's something in that rubric. But I just being able to visualize this and see this like beautiful internal network of how all that energy connects through these different I just call them heart centers because that's kind of what it looked like to me. That are all interconnected. And I think, at least on the earthbound side, it terminates and goes, that energy kind of goes through the pyramid. Um and then, you kind of start going out into the energy centers and stuff in the other realms. Whether, I haven't even gotten further. I'm gonna have to explore this even further. So this has been really interesting. One of the side projects I'm working on, I've been working on this a little bit. It started last year sometime. I have to um, do a video on this, a separate video. But so, I mean, I've done, going back to where this part started. Okay. I have to do that. So, okay. I know I can know where to start this. So I've worked for the past few years. I do occasional stuff with Sarah Petroselli from Black Tree Blue Raven. And so I've done, like, she does different Reiki attunements for things that were that she channeled. I had done her Reiki attunements for the blue fire Reiki, um purple fire Reiki, and might have been another one at that time, or I forget. I'd have to look at. So it's blue fire, purple fire. Is there another one I did back then? I know I just recently did the white fire and the green magma ones. Um, but what was interesting was when I was, I think it was Sarah's blue flyer Reiki, which is associated with Azazel, that I started getting all my spirits coming in with different their own different Reiki symbols and functionality. And we were I was talking to her about this. I'm like, so anyways, I've got Lucifer's red fire Reiki and Asmodeus uh, orange fire Reiki. I'm like, this is just like, I was working with this, and all of a sudden all this other stuff started coming through. She's like, yeah, that's kind of how the purple fire Reiki happened. So else. And then when they were working with it, that's where kind of the purple fire Reiki came from. I'm like, this is fascinating. The way things are kind of interconnected like that. So basically kind of what I started getting. I just have this in my book here. Ugh. So it's just these are some of the symbols that and purposes that I channeled. So like Lucifer's red fire Reiki, it's for love, self-love, heart chakra, heart healing. Also could be used for cord cutting and breakups, passion, soulmates, twin flames, that sort of thing. And Asmodeus's is dual action, fire of passion, lust, sexuality. This is probably also two different things here. Also the fire of passion and the fire of wrath. Those are the symbols. So, I started working through, like, I have a very messy list of more symbols and things. I am still to this day concerned that Belial only showed up to say the word yellow, which I feel like might have something to do with urine. It's Belial, so who knows? But I have a whole bunch of different ones and symbols. I just haven't gotten through to really catalog this. I'm starting to, because this is something I might offer as a service. I would like to write about. I'm just looking to see if there's anything. I feel like I started putting about this. Okay, now so I have the notes from Sarah's White Fire Reiki and the Green Magma. Reiki attunements that she does. So, I mean, what I'm thinking with these, similar to what she does, we've talked about this. So we should probably do a podcast at some point and talk talk dark and spooky Reiki. I mean, yeah, this is something I kind of want to develop further. And that is, there are all different types of Reiki. I mean, the probably the Reiki most people are familiar with is Usui Reiki, but there are tons and tons of different types of Reiki. A lot of it, there actually was a chaos magic version of Reiki for a while. I'm like, ooh, that sounds like fun. But this would probably fit into the chaos magic aspect, but because a lot of that is like channeled sigils. Some people have their trademark, copyrighted, whatever versions of Reiki. If you're looking to really learn about Reiki sort of across the board, I really highly suggest The Magic of Reiki by, I think it's by Christopher Penczak. That is a very wonderfully written, very comprehensive book on all the different types of Reiki, how to use it, how you can use it in rituals and spells and as part of your magic and divination. Because I still swear to this day, those attunements blasted open my third eye and my ability to channel and my like psychic abilities. Holy crap. Like in a major way. So, yeah. I mean, I don't really feel like I want to teach Reiki in a traditional sense, but I feel like there's so much more to Reiki than just doing it as like a healing modality. Like you can use Reiki for everything. I do my Reiki self-heal crap every day. Whether it's in everything I do. Um, because Reiki has its own set of symbols and stuff, which are very similar to sigils. So but yeah, so you're just tuning into that energy. So, like thinking about that heart center stuff, how it's all interconnected. So we're pulling in that, whatever you want to call it, Reiki, chi, source, prana, universal life force energy, whatever terminology floats your boat. I'm just going to say energy. So when I'm pulling in that energy, I'm not, taking my energy and imbuing it into the elixir of life, Diet Dr. Pepper. That is not, this video is not sponsored by Diet Dr. Pepper, but boy, howdy. I'm like, just pay me in Diet Dr. Pepper. That's all I need. But like even here in my office, I have the 4 main Reiki symbols on the side of my desk here. So they're always in this space. So, and I have other ones too. So, um, but yeah, it's like basically you pull down that energy and channel it to that person. So it's not like I'm pulling the energy through me and pushing it out. I'm just kind of facilitating that energy going to you or wherever. So, it is very powerful. It works. I don't always know how to explain how it works, but this at least journey that I went on with my guides was really interesting, and really fascinating. And I really can't wait to learn more because that's very exciting. Um, I'm going to wrap up now because it's getting late here. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Social media, sign up for e-newsletter, and if you really love us, support us on Patreon and YouTube, and we have other ways to make one-time donations or tips. All those links are below. We love you. Bye.